Welcome to the Market Mindset. We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing in the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can help support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the notification bell. For more info, you can visit our website. All links are in the description below. Now let's get into today's video.
Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew with the Market Mindset. We're catching up with one of our favorites, Robert Rohlfind, CEO over at Desert Mountain Energy. Big news release today. Stock's up 10% right now. I'll let you tell us what that release is, but big day today for you guys.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for having me on. Yeah, I've been kind of quiet. I've just been real busy on everything, but we were finally able to announce that we got the plant was being finished up, and so now we can go into an actual testing mode there, and that'll take a couple of weeks, or by the time it gets started next week. So it takes a little time, but it has to be done there before we're going to take delivery of it.
Yes. So now that's what we've been really waiting on here is that, getting GENERON, getting it assembled. We were waiting on a part, and we knew when you told us before, like, listen, once we get that, we need to make sure that it's got to specifications, and because everyone wants to go, oh, great, we can test it, then we can start producing. Let's go. We're closer. We're a lot closer. Mm-hmm. But maybe you just kind of tell us what happened. I mean, we know there's supply chain issues, but what kind of held it up, and what's been going on with it? And why is it so necessary before you even take it that you test it? Well,
do you give it and thank you, Andrew, because I guarantee you, I've been frustrated. Absolutely. I mean, I own a lot of this company personally. I have my personal money in it, so I'm just as anxious, and probably more so than everybody else. Going back on where this was, I started working on this in 1999, the thought. And now it's into this, and other people, and even the huge steps we've made since Donna and I took over a little over 2 years ago. Basically we went from a company that had a market cap of 3.8 million, and now we're 204, 205 million. That's in 2 years.
Yeah.
Through the middle of COVID, when everybody else was shutting down, we still managed to drill. We drilled 8 wells through COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, that's significant.
Yes.
But getting back to the plant, one of the things that this is not your normal, just go out there and throw up a plant for helium. One of the things that added a lot to it, and it's more of a long-term thing to prevent problems. Number one issue for refineries worldwide, as when it comes to fires and that type of stuff, comes to simply an electrical switch or a motor turning on.
Okay.
That spark.
Yes.
So we are using what's called TEFC, total enclosed fan-cooled motors. Doesn't matter what size it is, there is no exposed sparks off of a motor winding. Same way with a switch on a door. This is oversized wiring. Plus, the other thing that we developed in here, and it's been used in some offshore applications, but we actually have, in each unit, there's a nitrogen stripping unit that strips a little bit of nitrogen out of the air, and all of the wiring, it's not Romex like you find in your house. It's in totally enclosed, sealed conduits. Okay. And so from the computers out, and there's a lot of computers in each building, but from the computers and the sensors out, anything that has any electrical going to it, be it DC or AC, it has a positive 3 ounces, doesn't sound like much, 3 ounces of positive dry nitrogen, all the way from one end to the other, every light switch, everything. So when you go into paint stuff, you just can't go slapping paint on things. So they have to assemble and then disassemble. Once you get to a certain point, then you have to paint. You can't just put a piece of tape over one of those low pressure switches.
Yes.
But every point in it, that is just to give you an idea of how much planning has gone into this, because everything is so tight and compact. I think some of the pictures that people in the press release, it was linked that you would take people directly to the website for the pictures. There's a lot of things within those buildings. I'm not going to give close-up picture stuff, because what James and our team developed, there's a lot of things I just don't want advertised out there.
Sure. Because this is yeah, you've said before, like, this is a very new process, once again, because it's not, it's drilling, but you'd say drilling's drilling. It's not. It's drilling for helium, and you're stripping out a lot of things. There's a lot of nuance to it. You guys originated, specifically a lot of technique and a lot of ideas into this, so don't necessarily want to give those away.
No, and the processing plant's the same way.
Yeah.
There's so many things. How do you take a processing plant that would normally be under a 600 by 300 foot building that's 30 or 40 feet tall and get it all into 4 shipping containers? Really?
Yeah.
This is you don't just wake up one day. And that's why I say, I started working on this back in 2008 for the design on this. And did my original rough design match this? Hell no.
Yeah.
It's like there's some basic things that are in there and ideas, but we had to change a lot of other things as you go along. And then, as I say, like, to protect the electrical, this is just something else, because you have heat and cool. And like most people are familiar with an electrical switch in their house, and the wire just, you strip off 3/8 of an inch and it pushes in to a single point right on the back. It's just a little tight, and that's it. No, this is wires, and they get wrapped in a clockwise motion, not a counterclock. I mean, there is so many. You just don't whip this out.
Now, does this, because I don't know, and I'm not an engineer, which everyone else knows that, does this have anything to do, because you're also going to be using solar? Does that play a factor into this? Does that mitigate things, or does that cause another layer of complications? Or?
Well, what it did was it really changes, because there's so many sensors at so many different points on this plant, so that you can sense changes in flow rates, not just flow rates, but then the chemical makeup, because you have to have mass spectrometers built into the system repeatedly. So and yes, some of them are a little more expensive than what I may have in my shop, that if I want to just look at things, or the smaller ones that are very portable. They're still mass specs, but for something that can sense so quickly. And that's the other thing. And you have to have, in addition to mass spectrometers, you have to have gas chromatographs. And so everything has to work together. And it's for 4 shipping containers, this is very high tech. It really, really is.
Now, does this come down to, and you can answer this, because we hover around this, you see it in the forums quite often. Does this hover around the idea of it being able to detect, if you guys hone in on it, on other gases, noble gases, if one wanted to? Is that part of this, the sensors?
These sensors can sense every single known element on the periodic chart.
Perfect. Then we'll let the forums go crazy on that.
Yeah. But no, it is set to detect everything on purpose. Yeah. Now, it's not set to pull them out one by one.
No,
not on this one. Because each different elements come out at different minus temperatures, and they come out. There's just different things. I'm going to jump to Gunner Dome.
Yeah.
What we had looked at originally. And we'll have the final what zone we chose to produce from, and we'll have some idea about what the percentages are in there. One of the zones that we had the highest helium on the mass spectrometer while we were drilling ended up not being a zone that was we're going to try to produce right now. It had a combination of, there's a lot more other noble gases with it.
Okay.
And also, like the original zone, when we shot it, we had two zones that were fairly close to each other. And we ended up with a little bit higher, there's a trace of argon, and there's a little bit more CO2 than I wanted to deal with. The plant is set to separate CO2 and the amine unit. I mean, I can handle up to, with that amine unit, we could handle up to 57% CO2. I don't want to produce CO2.
No,
I don't, because especially huge numbers. There's a limited market within about 90 miles. Okay. So going in the future, that's a future market for it. But for what little bit we're trying to stay within was to keep it so low that it's being captured. It really doesn't matter. It's a non-event. And that was one of the things that bothered me. I said, I'm not going to be dumping a bunch of crap in the air. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't want to. And like, to start with, the batteries are not being delivered. The solar panels, we've taken delivery of them. So things are, that's, everything will come together. But to the initial fire up, because solar panels cannot handle a heavy drawdown. It's not like you just walk over and flip a switch. No, 3-phase power. You can't do that. And you can't stand to have that, because when electric motors first fire up, the amperage they draw compared to when they're running could be 3, 4, or 5 times what they actually, or in the case of the larger compressor, it's 22 times the amount. So you use compressed natural gas. We just rented a truck, a trailer for now, and so that it will run the generators on that just for startup, and that's what we'll run. Yeah. We need to iron things out, and then once the batteries arrive after the first year, sometime, who knows? Yeah. It'll be after. It could be. I don't think it's going to be January 2nd. I'm not that naive. But when they do, it'll be after the first year when they get there. And the way we have things set up, they will be inside in a container, all for themselves, and the wiring is already set to put them into place. So that is the way we are setting it up. That is approximately a 3-day put together. And at that time, we will actually turn the plant down.
Yep.
And then you get the batteries installed, you let them get fully charged, and then you start going back through another reset startup. It only takes one person to run the plant. That's it.
That's pretty impressive. That's outstanding.
And the way it's being set up is we have satellite, sat up links and other stuff. So I will be able to, or James and I, or whoever, we can sit in my house and I can pull it up on my computer and I can attenuate and I can change things right there.
That's pretty wild. And just to let people know, so it's the end of the month, 29th, the testing on the GENERON side should be done. Infrastructure is already done, and you tell me if I'm wrong on some of these. On the McCAULEY field, that processing facility, the infrastructure is there. You're just doing some extra flow line trenching and road work and gravel stuff.
Actually, the roads have all been built.
Okay,
everything, all of that is in. It's just the final connections to the plant.
Yeah,
that will be into after the 29th. Now, if there is we're going to start the 18th and the testing will run to the 29th. It may take a little bit less, and if there's something that shows up, which I think I mean, this is a brand new.
Yes.
No, GENERON hasn't built. We are the first. Will there be something that will take a day or two to fix? And yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and we have so many redundancies built in that the spare parts that we have on hand, just in case something, even though they tested like all the sensors and everything was individually tested before prior to being put in. Then it was tested in once it was installed. And then each unit has had a semi-run test on it just for sensors. But now they're all outside. They'll be interlinked, and everything has to run together. And so once they get that done, and then they have a final, and they think they have what, if any, issues have arisen, then we're going to run another test. And it's not going to run for probably only a day and a half, but we're going to run it through another go before we put it on trucks and ship it. So it'll be somewhere after the 29th to the 5th, probably.
Yeah.
That's it is. And then once it gets, taken out there, we'll put everything on the rest of the assembly in between the buildings, and the hard finished product will be done. And that'll probably take through Christmas. And I'm not going to try doing the commissioning between Christmas and New Year's. No. Everybody would like to be home, and it's like at that point, what's another week?
Yeah. Yes.
In reality. So then, unless it gets done faster, I don't know.
Okay.
It depends on the weather, because there's parts that have to be, the last parts that have to be physically welded together outside. We've actually had a number of things with the hurry up and wait that we got stuck with. We've had a lot of other things that were welded together in sections, and they will be brought out. So James has tried to work really hard at trying to look at everywhere to speed things up. You still have to do things in the field.
Yep. So, and then once you have it, we know, there's going to be some more testing. I guess if someone's kind of being a bit more conservative, they're hoping for end of January, maybe there's production, or if they're being a bit realistic, because we always want to be conservative and realistic with where could this
well,
be?
Once we do the commission and start running, we'll start having helium accumulated in a tank, in a transport tank right away. And initially, I'm not looking, even though the plant is designed to run 6 9s and a 5, so 99.99995.
Yep.
We're going to ramp up from a 4 9s up to that. So initially, the first probably 2 trailer loads that go off are going to be, we're going to consider them to be balloon grade, because there will be mixtures of differences on it. And as we even it out, otherwise you're trying to get a little trailer for this or this, and it's like, no. Okay. We've already made the arrangement, and as we ramp that up, so from the day we turn it on, it'll be technically making money.
Yeah.
But it's going to start out very low, and we will ramp up. Again, to remind folks what I'm looking at doing was, there's been a couple other folks, private companies, that drilled a onesie, twosie well, not necessarily in Arizona, but elsewhere. And they want to bring down trailers because they don't want to deal with one of the larger companies where they're just getting rape, pillage, and plunder, and they're only going to get paid $280 an MCF minus everything. People don't understand the differences between an offtake contract. Now, I've tried to address this before. I'll try to cover this real quick. Offtake contracts in general, if you have someone coming out, and even if they say, okay, we'll take your raw gas and we're going to run it up to, say, 90% purity. Well, you're you're still only going to be paid $280 per MCF minus whatever those fees are for that. So you don't net, after, and they're charging you because they have, quite a few million tied up in a plant. You're only going to be netting 200 or 150, depending on who it is. And then you got to pay for transportation. Well, it just ka-ching, yes. It just keeps dropping it. Well, some of these other folks, it's like our plant can actually take a raw, just compressed gas in, and we'll process it all out. Well, I want to see, because it gives our shareholders an additional way for us to make money. Because so if we're paying somebody, say, $350 or $380 an MCF, they're getting a whole lot more for it, minus a processing fee.
Sure. Yeah.
They end up making 2 or 3 times what they normally would, and yet we still are going to have the final end high dollar product.
Yes.
To me, and it's like the plant has sufficient sensors so that people can bring in a truck and we'll hook it in. And you don't just open the valve and jam it all through at one time, but you blend it in. And so that's what we have to have after we have the plant set up and operational at one level. And then what happens if you bring in a truckload, or if we're bringing in a truckload of our own stuff? You need to be able to understand exactly. Even though the computer programs are written, everything is done. I don't know what it'll be. Murphy's Law,
yeah.
Something. I mean, there could be something, but there's so many redundancies on the system. It's like when we drill wells, we put in triple casing. We spend an extra 18 to 20%, but we all sleep good at night. We know that there's no way we can pollute the environment. We're not going to damage any residual groundwaters or underground aquifers. I don't know. Yeah, has it cost more? Yes. Has it taken more time? But once we put this online, yes, it's like, this is what we worked so hard for. Yes. It really is. I said in the press release, this is it really is a monumental moment. Number one, not just for us, but for the industry, because we're the first ones to do this.
And it's happening now. This is like you said, it's a huge milestone, and we're so close to what, everyone kind of wants. But it's, once again, is, you said it before many times, is we got to pause, take a big breath, do everything, slow down, do everything properly, because the work you put in still now, it makes a difference for the long run. So if you get everything done properly, check everything, you could save yourself a whole lot of headache and a whole lot of problems.
Mm-hmm. And it's like somebody else, I've had quite a few emails, and I know Don has had questions from folks about trying to have a different understanding, or more of an understanding, about the deal with Beam Earth.
Yeah.
And again, I say that was a way for us to remain focused on the helium aspect, because they have unique ways to deal with turning hydrogen into ammonia, which is a whole lot simpler to ship. It's stable. People are used to that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, yes, we have a discovery for hydrogen. Exactly how big? I'm not going to try throwing a number out that there's X number BCF or whatever. I'm not that silly. This is brand new. So working with them, and so we are going to be doing other geophysics work, and then we're going to drill 3 wells, and how we put everything together. Now, for their plant, they have a way, and we'll work with them more as to downsize for their amount of electrical requirements.
Okay.
And because we dropped ours by a whole lot from what originally I thought in 2008 to now, it's 55% less.
Okay. Wow.
That's a lot of electricity. That's a lot of energy.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where the electricity comes from, whether you're running natural gas generators, or it's nuclear power coming down, or hydroelectric, or diesel, or coal fire, wherever you're generating the electricity at, that's still the energy. So to be able to effectively lower that from so much over that many years. You know, a lot of it has to do with high tech and sensors work better and totally different sensors now. But we still have to really prove up the field as you go forward to monetize it. I really, you know, somebody asked me, a company that we met with last Friday, they were asking, well, how many clean hydrogen fields do you think there are? I went, I don't know. I think we probably across the US and Canada over time, because most of the time when drilling companies, they have a target in mind. And it's like this. We put on the blinders and we are focused on something. And so they didn't even have a mass spectrometer set up. Why? We're not going to be there for 10 days or a week. Why do we need that? There's nothing up there. So I really think over time will be more white hydrogen, not discovered, quote, basically rediscovered, actually discovered. You know, and because it would have had a low BTU rating, and that would have been something on the old hot wires. People would have been looking for C1, you know, just methane, or they did a sample and it's like, oh man, that's 800 BTU, forget it. You know, or 400 BTU. So there's a lot of issues with it that you have to deal with, and that's why part of the deal, work together with Beam Earth and their experts and ours, so that we can remain focused on the helium, and then other areas where they're working that they have trace helium and they need to extract it cost effectively. That's the other thing about this plant. You know, this isn't just a one and done situation. And so this can be duplicated again and again and again.
And that's why I get the process down, and the whole criteria and how it's done right the first time makes it replicated a lot easier. And that is a huge upside. I had one person reach out to me too and said, hey, well, how's their cash situation? And I reminded them 2 months ago, you raised $6 million. So you guys are doing fine.
I'm not looking to raise any cash at the moment. I don't know. Maybe I should, because I don't need it. But we're so close to going into cash flow anyway. I just wanted to have that cash on hand for this and some other things that we are starting.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and you have to be able to, you don't wait until you need it.
Yes. No, and I mean, you're always like, you've got lots of tasks at hand every day, but you also, you're thinking well ahead. So I reminded that person of that listen, you guys are always working on things as well, not only today, but that are a year away, 6 months away, 2 years away, because it requires that. You need to be focused on where is this going, and anticipating a lot of flex and a lot of movement. But I mean, let's just wrap it up quickly, just to say you've got cash. You're very close. It's what people have been waiting for. And you know, of course, we're so close to the production side, but it's gonna be really interesting over the next couple of weeks to see if everything does go smoothly, because that's a big boon right there. And we're looking forward to then a lot more data being released. I'm assuming then we're going to get a bit more of the data coming out, and then probably in the new year. Is that kind of the time frame for some of that?
Yeah. And there'll be, as soon as we have the stuff back in on the Gunner Dome at the end of the month, and we'll have that. And I know everybody wants to know what exactly how much you don't produce. So they want to go to exactly how much we don't make that.
Yep.
Not happening.
No.
I'm not going to do it.
So it is amazing, all these milestones, and I don't want to forget too, because there's this is very interesting, is in partnership, I guess, with Viewpoints. Let everyone know what's happening. Is it next Tuesday?
On the 15th. What it was, we were approached by Viewpoint, which is it's hosted by Dennis Quaid, and they tend to do like Visionette, shall we say, 6 minutes and 28 seconds, short deal. But it has to be not just blatant advertisement. It has to be educational in nature. And so we were approached early this year to do that. And they came out and we filmed this. And they brought out their very professional team. And they've are known for very high quality. this is, there's lots of money thrown into this. And we didn't have to pay but very, very little for this. And they developed some 1-minute commercials that will be airing on CNBC and Fox Business Network. But the Viewpoint segment are just over 6 minutes, and they, starting next Tuesday, they air after Masterpiece Theater, Nova, and Antique Roadshow. So it's on PBS. Down here in the US, it's on PBS. And then in Canada, depending on where you're at in Canada, to get onto the PBS and get that. But it's a very unique program. The way we took it was interesting how much time was actually spent shooting for what compresses down to. But I think it gives people a better idea about, wow, the real high point of what we're trying to accomplish here as a corporation on a lot of different scale. But that begins next Tuesday, the 15th.
Definitely looking forward to seeing that. Their perspective, I think, will be really interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. Thanks for letting us know.
You're welcome.
It's come to fruition. This is it. And like you said, this is a big day.
It is.
It's not to be kind of, it's not understated by any stretch of the imagination. We've been waiting for it. It's very exciting. And the market's in a terrible market is responding well. And it's going to be exciting from here, because this is the big kind of launching off next stage of growth, not only for the company, and we'll see how the market goes, but certainly for the company, we're entering that new stage now.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate you, Andrew.
We always love catching up with you. Big news release. Congratulations on all the hard work. I'm sure there's more still to come, but it's really exciting, and I really appreciate you spending time with us.
Thank you, Andrew, and you have a great weekend.
Thanks so much. Take care.